My fiancé's parents announced at rehearsal dinner, "We need to be honest, you're not really one of us. You don't fit our family values." I said, "Thank you for your honesty." Then I stood up and canceled the wedding right there. When my fiancée begged me to reconsider, her parents stayed silent. I, 32 male, am writing this from a hotel room that should have been my honeymoon suite. The wedding was supposed to be tomorrow. Instead, I'm drinking whiskey alone and honestly feeling more relieved than devastated. Let me explain. I've been with my fiancée for 4 years. Met at a mutual friend's birthday party. She was smart, funny, ambitious. We clicked immediately. Dating turned serious within 6 months, moved in together after 2 years, and I proposed last October during a weekend trip. She said yes. I genuinely thought I'd found my person. Her parents were always cordial. That's the best word. Not warm, not hostile, just cordial. Her father is a retired executive from some pharmaceutical company. Her mother comes from old money and runs a charity foundation. They live in one of those gated communities where everyone drives luxury cars and pretends not to notice the help. I'm an electrical engineer. Make decent money, around $115K a year. Own a modest townhouse, drive a reliable Honda, have retirement savings. Middle class through and through. My parents are both teachers. Good people, salt of the earth types. Every interaction with her parents felt like a job interview. I was perpetually failing. Her father would ask about my 5-year plan, like we were in a boardroom. Her mother would make comments about my quaint little townhouse and how interesting it was that I came from a humble background. I brushed it off. Told myself they were just protective of their daughter. My fiancé always defended them. They're just traditional. They take time to warm up. They don't mean it that way. Should have seen the red flags, hindsight and all that. The rehearsal dinner was last night. Nice restaurant, private room booked for about 40 people. Both families, wedding party, close friends. My parents flew in from 3 states away. My best friend took time off work to be there. Everyone was dressed up, excited, toasting to our future. About an hour into dinner, right after the appetizers were cleared, her father stood up and clinked his glass. I figured it was time for the traditional welcome to the family speech. I was smiling. Actually smiling. "Before we all get too deep into the festivities," he started, "I think it's important we address something that's been weighing on us." Her mother nodded, looking like she was about to announce a hostile takeover. He continued, "We've tried to be supportive of this relationship, we really have. But we need to be honest here, in front of everyone who matters. You're not really one of us. You don't fit our family values." The room went dead silent. I could hear someone's fork hit their plate. Our daughter comes from a certain background, certain expectations, certain standards. And while you seem like a nice enough young man, we don't believe you can provide the life she deserves. We've held our tongues for too long, and we won't pretend anymore. Her mother chimed in, "We're not saying this to be cruel. We're saying it because someone needs to be honest. You'll never truly belong in our circles. And frankly, we're concerned about what this marriage would do to our family's reputation." I looked at my fiancée. She was staring at her plate, face red, not saying a word. Not defending me, not telling them to stop. Her sister was smirking, actually smirking. My mother looked like she was about to cry. My father's jaw was clenched so tight, I thought he might crack a tooth. "We're offering you an out," her father concluded. "No hard feelings. We'll handle the cancellation costs. Just walk away now and everyone can save face." The silence stretched. 40 people watching, waiting for me to crumble, apologize, beg for acceptance. Instead, something clicked. 4 years of subtle digs, of backhanded compliments, of feeling like I was never good enough. 4 years of my fiancé making excuses, instead of standing up for me. And now this. Public humiliation at my own rehearsal dinner. I stood up slowly, took a breath. "Thank you for your honesty," I said, voice steady. "I appreciate you finally saying out loud what you've been implying for years. And you're absolutely right. I don't fit your family values, because my family values include basic human decency and not humiliating people at their own wedding events." Her father's smug expression flickered. "So I'm going to take you up on that offer. The wedding is canceled. Not because I'm not good enough for your daughter, but because I finally realized she's not good enough for me. A partner who sits there while her parents publicly degrade her fiancé? That's not someone I want to spend my life with. I turned to my fiancée. She finally looked up, eyes wide with shock. 4 years. I loved you for 4 years, and you just sat there. Then I turned to my parents. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry you had to witness this. Let's go. My best friend was already standing, ready to follow. My mom grabbed her purse, tears streaming. My dad put his hand on my shoulder as we walked out. Behind me, I heard her finally speak. Wait, please, we can talk about this. Her parents said nothing. That silence told me everything I needed to know. Update 1. 2 days later. The fallout has been something else. After we left the restaurant, my parents and I went back to their hotel. My mom cried, not because of the canceled wedding, but because of what those people said about her son, about our family. My dad, who never raises his voice, called them the most pathetic excuse for human beings he's ever encountered. I spent that night answering texts. My best friend handled the groomsmen. We drafted a message. Wedding canceled, long story. Will explain when I can. The venue, the caterer, the florist, the DJ, the photographer, all booked, all paid for. And here's where it gets interesting. I paid for 70% of this wedding. Her parents had offered to contribute, but it was always with strings attached. We'll pay for the flowers, but they have to be from this florist. We'll cover the band, but it has to be this band. So I said, forget it, I'll handle most of it myself. Her contribution was minimal. Her parents' actual contribution, a grand total of $3,000 toward the rehearsal dinner. The same dinner they used to humiliate me. Total wedding cost, roughly $48,000. My portion, about $34,000. Money I'd saved for years. Now, most vendors have cancellation policies. This close to the event, I was looking at losing a significant chunk. But I started making calls the morning after, and something interesting happened. The venue coordinator listened to my story, and while she couldn't refund the deposit, she offered to hold a credit for a future event. You sound like you dodged a bullet, she said. Good for you. The caterer was less flexible, but worked with me on transferring the deposit to my buddy's upcoming engagement party. He paid me back, so net neutral there. The photographer? She'd actually witnessed similar situations before. Gave me a 50% refund, which was more than her contract required. I ended up recovering about $12,000 of my investment. Still lost around $22,000. That hurts, but you know what hurts more? Marrying into that family. Meanwhile, my ex-fiancée started the campaign. First came the texts, dozens of them. You humiliated Emmy in front of everyone. My parents were just being protective. You overreacted. We can still fix this. Please just talk to me. I didn't respond to any of them. Then her sister reached out. This was Rich. You know you made a huge scene for nothing, right? My parents were just being honest. You should be thanking them for the reality check. Now my sister is devastated and it's your fault. I replied once. Your parents called me and my family worthless in front of 40 people. Your sister said nothing. We're done here. Blocked. Then came the mutual friends, the Switzerland crowd who wanted to understand both sides. I heard what happened. That's rough, but are you sure you didn't overreact? Her parents can be intense, but they mean well. Maybe if you just apologized. Apologized? For what? For having working-class parents? For not inheriting a trust fund? I stopped responding to those people too. But here's where the entitlement really kicked into high gear. 3 days after the rehearsal dinner disaster, I got a certified letter from her parents' attorney. They were demanding I reimburse them for 1. The $3,000 they contributed to the rehearsal dinner. 2. $5,000 for emotional distress caused to their daughter. 3. $2,500 for the non-refundable portion of her wedding dress. 4. $1,200 for the bachelorette party expenses they'd covered. Total demanded $11,700. The audacity. The absolute audacity. These people publicly humiliated me, torpedoed their own daughter's wedding, and now they wanted me to pay them. I called my cousin, who's a paralegal. She looked over the letter and laughed. This is barely legal intimidation. They have no grounds. The rehearsal dinner was a gift. The dress was her purchase. And emotional distress? They caused the situation. Ignore it. But I didn't want to just ignore it. I wanted documentation. I drafted a response with my cousin's help. Professional, factual, devastating. Dear counsel, your client's claims are without merit. The rehearsal dinner contribution was a gift with no repayment terms. The wedding dress was purchased by your client's daughter, not me. Claims of emotional distress are particularly ironic, given that your clients initiated the public confrontation that ended the engagement. Furthermore, I have 40 witnesses who observed your client's conduct. Any further frivolous communication will be considered harassment. This matter is closed. Sent it certified mail. Return receipt requested. Silence after that. From them at least. My ex-fiancée, however, wasn't done. She showed up at my townhouse unannounced. Sunday afternoon. I was watching football with my best friend. Doorbell rang. There she was, looking like she hadn't slept in days. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Please, just 5 minutes. I deserve that after 4 years. My buddy looked at me. I shook my head slightly, but stepped onto the porch, closed the door behind me. Talk. She started crying immediately. I'm so sorry. I should have said something. I was in shock. You don't understand what they're like, how they control everything. But I love you. I want to fix this. Where were they when you were begging me to reconsider? She blinked. What? At the restaurant. When you finally spoke up, when you asked me to wait, your parents sat there in silence. They didn't try to stop me. They didn't apologize. They got exactly what they wanted. They were surprised. They planned that speech. Your father had notes on a napkin. I saw it when he sat back down. That wasn't surprise. That was strategy. Her face crumpled. They thought they were protecting me. From what? From a man who loved you? Who was going to spend his life with you? Your parents think I'm beneath them, and you let them treat me that way for 4 years. That's not love. That's convenience. I'll cut them off. I'll choose you, please. I almost believed her. Almost. But then I remembered every holiday where I felt like an outsider. Every family dinner where her mother made comments about my modest upbringing. Every time her father asked if I was sure I could provide for his daughter. You've had 4 years to choose me. You never did. Goodbye. I went back inside, locked the door. She stood on the porch for another 10 minutes before her sister picked her up. My best friend handed me a beer. You good? Getting there. Update 2, 1 week later. The entitlement has reached levels I didn't know were possible. First, her mother started calling my parents. My parents. The people she dismissed as humble at the rehearsal dinner. My mom called me, furious. That woman had the nerve to tell me I raised my son to be vindictive and petty. She said we should encourage you to reconsider for everyone's sake. What did you say? I told her that her daughter was lucky to have known you at all, and that if she calls again, I'm filing a harassment complaint. Then I hung up. My mom, the retired elementary school teacher, throwing down. Proud of her. Then the flying monkeys intensified. Friends I hadn't heard from in months, suddenly reaching out. I heard about what happened. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? Someone told me you're going through a breakdown. Do you need help? A breakdown. They were spinning it as a mental health crisis, like I snapped unreasonably instead of responding rationally to public humiliation. I posted nothing on social media, made no public statements, just quietly removed relationship photos and changed my status to single. But apparently, the narrative was being constructed without me. Her father, I learned through mutual friends, was telling everyone that I couldn't handle constructive criticism and proved them right by storming out like a child. Constructive criticism. That's what he called it. Then came the financial warfare. I'd given my ex-fiancée access to a streaming account. Not a big deal. Shared it for convenience. Forgot to remove her. She used it to access my email. Same password, I know, stupid. And attempted to log into my bank account. Failed because of 2-factor authentication. Thank God, but I got the alert. Changed every password. Enabled 2FA everywhere. Monitored my credit. Then I discovered she'd been added as an emergency contact on my health insurance through some paperwork mix-up during our engagement. She'd called my insurance company, pretending to inquire about our policy, and managed to get some basic information. Nothing damaging, but invasive as hell. Fixed that too. But the real kicker came on Thursday. I got a call from my boss. Hey, someone's been asking questions about you. Reached out to HR claiming to be a reference checker from another company, but you're not job searching, right? I wasn't. and I had a pretty good idea who was behind it. What kind of questions? Work performance, reliability, character. HR handled it. Told them we don't give out that information to unverified callers, but thought you should know. I thanked him and documented everything. That night, I drafted a long email. Everything that had happened since the rehearsal dinner. The legal threats, the harassment, the privacy violations, the attempt to damage my employment. I sent it to my attorney cousin and a family lawyer friend. Their advice: formal cease and desist, and start building a paper trail for potential restraining order if it escalates. So that's what I did. The cease and desist went to her parents' address. It outlined every instance of harassment, named the legal violations, attempted unauthorized access to accounts, fraudulent inquiries to my employer, and warned that further contact would result in legal action. It also mentioned something important. I had been recording conversations. Our state is one-party consent. When my ex came to my porch, my phone was recording in my pocket. When her mother called my parents, my dad recorded it on his end. Everything was documented. Within 48 hours of that letter landing, her father called me directly. "This is getting out of hand. Let's meet like adults and discuss this." "There's nothing to discuss. Your family has harassed me, attempted to access my private accounts, and tried to damage my career. The next contact will involve police. You're being unreasonable. We were trying to. Goodbye." Hung up, blocked the number. Then something unexpected happened. My ex-fiancée's grandmother reached out, sweet old lady I'd actually gotten along with. She left a voicemail. "Dear, I heard what happened. I'm mortified by how my daughter and son-in-law behaved. That was disgraceful. You didn't deserve that, and neither did your parents. I'm sorry you were treated that way. Whatever happens, I want you to know that some of us in this family have better values than what you witnessed." That hit different. I actually called her back. "Thank you for saying that. It means more than you know. My granddaughter made a terrible mistake by not defending you, and her parents, well, they've always thought too highly of themselves. Take care of yourself." That conversation gave me some closure, but it didn't change what needed to happen next. Final update. 3 weeks later. Things have settled, not cleanly, but definitively. After the cease and desist, the direct harassment stopped. No more calls to my parents, no more attempts to access my accounts, no more mysterious inquiries to my employer. Either they got scared, or their lawyer told them they were walking into serious legal trouble. Either way, silence. But here's where the natural consequences kicked in. Remember those 40 witnesses at the rehearsal dinner? Turns out, several of them were business associates of her father, people he'd invited to show off to demonstrate his family's status. Instead, they witnessed him humiliating a young man who'd done nothing wrong. One of them, I learned through a friend who still talks to people in that circle, was on the board of a nonprofit her mother runs. He brought up the incident at a board meeting. Not to cause trouble, just mentioned he was surprised by the family's conduct at a recent event. That started a conversation. Then an informal review. Then her mother's position as foundation director came under scrutiny for judgment concerns. She wasn't removed, but she was quietly encouraged to take a sabbatical to focus on family matters. Fancy way of saying, "You embarrassed us, step back." Her father's situation was more direct. One of those business associates had been considering partnering with him on a consulting venture for retired executives. After the dinner, he pulled out. Told someone that he couldn't work with a man who treats people like that in public. The consulting deal died. I don't know the dollar amount involved, but from what I heard, it was substantial. None of this was my doing. I didn't make calls, didn't campaign against them. I just stood up for myself, documented their harassment, and let the chips fall. Turns out, when you show people who you really are in front of 40 witnesses, consequences follow. As for my ex-fiancée, she tried one last time. 2 weeks after everything went quiet, I got a handwritten letter, mailed to my townhouse. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. 4 pages. Tearful apologies. Explanations about her family dynamic, about how she was raised to defer to her parents, about how she'd been in therapy since the wedding collapse. She acknowledged that she failed me, that she should have defended me, that she'd never forgive herself. She asked for one meeting. Just coffee. just to say goodbye properly. I thought about it for 2 days. Then I wrote back. I received your letter. I appreciate the apology, and I hope your therapy helps you become the person you want to be. But I can't meet with you. Not because I'm angry anymore, but because there's nothing left to say. I needed you to stand up for me, and you didn't. I needed you to defend our relationship, and you were silent. That moment showed me who you were, and I can't unsee it. I wish you well, genuinely. But this chapter is closed. Please don't contact me again. Mailed it. That was 10 days ago. No response. No surprise visits. Nothing. The money situation worked itself out as well as it could. I recovered about half of what I'd spent through vendor negotiations, reselling some decorations, and canceling services within the grace period. Still lost around $17,000. That stings. It'll take a while to rebuild those savings. But I've got a stable job, I'm healthy, and I'm not legally tied to that family. I consider that a win. My parents went home after staying a few extra days to make sure I was okay. My mom still calls every other day. My dad texts me random sports commentary like nothing happened. They've been rocks through all of this. My best friend has been invaluable. Made sure I wasn't sitting alone brooding, dragged me to his place for game nights, let me crash on his couch when my townhouse felt too quiet. The townhouse itself is different now. I rearranged the furniture, donated everything she'd picked out, repainted the bedroom. It's mine again. I'm not dating. Not interested right now. Too much processing left to do. My therapist, yeah, I started seeing one, says that's healthy. Taking time instead of rushing into something new to avoid feeling the feelings. The feelings are there. Some nights I lie awake thinking about what could have been. The life I thought I was building. The future that evaporated in a single speech at a rehearsal dinner. But then I remember the silence. Her silence when her parents called me worthless. Their silence when she finally asked me to stay. And I know I made the right call. Someone asked me if I regret walking out. If maybe I could have handled it differently. Confronted them privately. Given her a chance to make it right. Here's the thing. She had 4 years of chances. Every time her parents made a snide comment. Every time her mother looked down her nose at my family. Every time her father questioned whether I could provide adequately. She had thousands of opportunities to defend me, to draw boundaries, to show me I mattered more than their approval. She didn't. Not until it was too late. And even then, she only spoke up when I was already walking out the door. That's not a partner. That's someone who wanted to keep the peace at my expense. And I refused to spend my life being someone's acceptable compromise. Her parents got what they wanted, sort of. They broke up the wedding, but they also exposed themselves to 40 witnesses, damaged their social standing, and pushed their daughter into therapy. Congratulations, I guess. As for me, I'm okay. Not great, not destroyed, just okay. Which, all things considered, is pretty damn good. To everyone who messaged support after my first post, thank you. It helped more than you know, knowing strangers on the internet had my back when the people who were supposed to love me didn't. Time to move forward. One day at a time.